Welcome back to the free and open course on real customer service. Emotional intelligence in customer service has become a hot topic nowadays. Still, I don't see courses covering this topic besides stating you should work on your emotional intelligence. Instead of just saying you need to have emotional intelligence, I am going to give you some guidelines on how to develop it specifically for our context. Hit thumbs up if you want more content related to customer services. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel too. Hello there everyone! Emotional intelligence in customer service has some peculiarities because it involves much more than understanding your feelings and controlling them. There is also the need to maintain a positive attitude towards your clients. You must convince them to take a course of action that will be better for both of you, and doing it often in real time and off the cuff. The purpose of this lesson is to give you a more visual framework and practical tips on how to develop emotional intelligence in customer service specifically. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what emotional intelligence is, but since it's important for anyone who is new or has read little about it, here it goes. Let's draw the big picture here. According to the website Positive Psychology, one of the most respected websites on psychology, emotional intelligence is defined as someone's ability to perceive, understand, and manage their own feelings and emotions. We couldn't avoid but mention Daniel Goleman, who popularized the term emotional intelligence. The best-selling writer, psychologist, and doctor from Harvard, in a Q&A on his website specifically about emotional intelligence in customer service, he claims that since emotions are contagious, how you interact with your customers will determine how they will perceive your company. You want the service to be positive, empathetic, and to understand your customers. In one of his books, Daniel analyzed data from the hospitality industry and found that the most effective employees had skills such as self-management, empathy, and collaboration. I will mention an article on Forbes by Mark Murphy, a renowned author and founder of Leadership IQ. This is a research center I personally like a lot, specialized in topics such as leadership, employee engagement, and management. In the article, Mark points out an emotionally intelligent person will be able to start a better conversation with a customer. Instead of asking, "How are you?" when the customer is clearly angry, the attendant will be sensitive, notice the situation, and act differently. So there is no room for answers like, "No, obviously I'm not alright." He goes into the recommendation of how to act, but it's not the focus here. In a very thorough article in Harvard Business Review, Daniel Goleman reports on 4 domains and 12 skills a person needs to become emotionally intelligent. The domains are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. The competencies are emotional self-awareness, emotional self-control, adaptability, achievement orientation, positive outlook, empathy, organizational awareness, influence, mentoring, conflict management, teamwork, and inspirational leadership. Finally, in his book, Daniel says successful attendants have the emotional intelligence to assess customers' emotion. They will empathize and remain emotionally present to refine their understanding of clients' emotions with each interaction as the relationship goes on. In the end, they will assertively make suggestions according to what the customer wants. Instead of telling how the customer should feel, a customer service agent will give you the best suggestions for the customer's needs, which avoids resentments and frustrations. When I explain about emotional intelligence and customer service, or who deals with the public, I like to put together some adjacent concepts. I won't be able to explain them in much detail because there is a lot of theory behind it. I created a model which I teach in my course, my first leadership role, called Framework of Emotional Intelligence. It's oriented to the development of your ability to recognize and regulate your emotional states. There are 4 tools. The horizontal bar represents your willpower, meaning your mood at that moment. The higher up, the more satisfied you are, in a better mood, in a more positive state. The further down, the angrier you are, or sadder, or more tired. It's called willpower because you consume this energy to do things. However, there are certain activities that give you more willpower, such as resting, listening to music, playing video games. Of course, these activities change from person to person. When you are in a state of very low willpower, you start to get stressed or angry. And this is where you change your behavior. There is an incredible amount of articles talking about changing our behavior under stress. Here's an indication which includes several situations. An article from the University of California reflects with many references on the effects of stress on your body, but also on your personality. Although many theories treat personality as relatively fixed, the article points out how it has changed, and it's understood that personality traits can change. Among the impacts cited in the article, there are those on the neural structure, on memory, and general pessimism. One of the side effects of pessimism pointed out is that it's correlated with neurotic behavior and negatively correlated with being agreeable. Overall, being a more pessimistic person will prevent you from enjoying leisure activities and still get older faster. Stress is good in several situations, as it increases your performance, sense of alertness, and even memory. When under a lot of stress though, there is the effect freeze or faint, in which fear or threat overwhelms your ability to react. At that moment, there is a break in your answer. We all have a stress threshold of what we can endure. This is the moment when the stress is so high our functions stop working. We simply have to cry or wait for the next day. I hope you haven't seen it happen or it hasn't happened to you. Your role as a person is to try to recognize what are the triggers that increase and decrease your willpower. Then you can make better decisions about the next step. In addition, you need to identify what signals your body, mind, and behavior are sending to you that you are in your stress zone. This is how you use it to your advantage, avoiding staying too long in it so that there is no lasting effect on you. And of course, for you to not reach your breaking points. All this regulation must happen, as I mentioned at the beginning of the lesson, in real time during the service. I know, it's a lot. A simple exercise I'm a big fan of is journaling. I'll explain it on my own terms, okay? This is an exercise where you take a specific situation and describe what has happened. Here's what happens. Take a moment to yourself, free of interruption if possible, and write until there's nothing else to be said. Don't worry about mistakes, grammar, punctuation, nothing. You won't show it to anyone. Just try to put your emotions in the notes. What happened? What you saw? How did you feel? What affected you? Why did that affect you? Why is it important? Why did you act the way you did? What did you think? What did you expect? Cool. After a few practices, you'll be more aware of how you react. If you try hard, you will start to learn to control yourself in the middle of the situation, since you are aware of what your triggers are and what triggers certain emotions. The next step is to start noticing which behaviors of yours trigger others' actions. You probably have an agency in this. There are facial expressions, bodily gestures, phrases that you emit that cause some people to act in certain ways. For example, I know that one of my biggest shortcomings is that I make fun of situations. It's my way of coping with bad luck and life events. I pretend they are not relevant and I make fun of them. But for many people, this behavior has other weight. It's very important that I pay attention to this, appreciate it, respect the reactions of others, and show that I care. Why? When I make this comment and they get to people, many of them can get angry, and I do get stressed dealing with angry people. And not the kind of stress of me clapping back at them, but I actually freeze. I tend to go in a state of shock when people burst, and it may last for hours, hurting me and very often ruining my day. So to prevent this from happening to me, I avoid triggering other people. The beauty of emotional intelligence is not that you learn how to build up a wall of empathy, but that you understand your agency on your feelings and on the surrounding triggers. The greatest hardship is, in fact, to remain calm, compose, and to direct the customer to the desired outcome. We already had a lesson on composure during our service. Emotional intelligence comes in handy for you to maintain your sanity and to learn to improve your reactions over time. Your role as a customer service agent in maintaining your posture is to understand that you have agency and responsibility for the situation. You are not necessarily guilty or personally responsible for that, but you are representing the company you work for after all. Therefore, understand this is your role and that you have the opportunity to change the situation. After this, you have the option of trying to change the situation or evade it, very similar to the instinct to fight or flight. Additionally, and it has happened to me, you can ask for a time to think things through and try to find a better alternative. When the situation was very sudden for me and I realized that the other side was clearly irritated, I simply said, "Look, person X, I realize that you are not in a position to speak calmly and carrying this conversation on will not be productive. May I call you tomorrow and continue? I think this will be better for both of us because I know you want to solve this issue too." Dealing with service and people is not an easy task. Every day, new situations can arise and it's difficult to prepare for all of them, if not straight impossible. Therefore, my recommendation will never be to train for each one, but how you can create an emotional and conscious foundation to deal with 80% of the possible variety of contexts, types of clients and problems. The remaining 20% will be the cases that we will have to stop, reflect on, and then come back with the answer. There is no other way. Customer service has this shortcoming. I hope this lesson has given you some guidance on how you can work on your emotional intelligence in customer service. My goal is to write a denser and more elaborate content on the subject for the future, as there is a lot here that we can use. Cool, as we say in my hometown, better than that, just twice that. To recap what we saw in this lesson, we learned briefly what emotional intelligence is and tried to bring the concept to your attention. It's someone's ability to perceive, understand, and manage their own emotions and feelings. Then I commented on the model that I have created that helped me to improve myself as a person and professional to be more emotionally stable. These are the concepts of willpower, stress, and breaking points. In the end, I talked about personal self-control on a daily basis, and it's the most difficult part. How you can train to build your emotional intelligence and be a more balanced person. The next lesson is on how to be charismatic. The topics we will cover will be what is charisma, the behaviors of a charismatic person, and how to develop your likability so that you are a customer service area that people are happy to talk to. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel to follow the lessons, like this content if you're thinking it can help you, and share it with your colleagues and coworkers. Always look both ways. See you in the future.